Hello everyone, this is Tom Fox. I would like to welcome you to the Sunday Book Review. The Sunday Book Review is the series where I discuss books which impact the compliance practitioner, the legal professional, and the business professional. I hope you will enjoy this episode. First, a quick word from our sponsor. The Sunday Book Review for February 27, 2022, the George Orwell edition. I thought in the context of the Soviet invasion, or Russia rather, invasion of Ukraine, we would take a look at 4 books from George Orwell. We begin, of course, with 1984, his best finished novel, and it was published in 1949. The novel follows the story of Winston Smith, one man in the middle of a fascist state known as Oceania. It used to be England, and the character Smith struggles with his everyday life as he's forced to conform to the party's standards. Winston eventually rebels, and while he steps away from the caution that's allowed him to live so long, he discovers more secrets about the parties and its intentions. The novel is considered to be his masterpiece and a warning about the future and Russia today. Number 2, Animal Farm, second and only in fame to 1984. It's a humorous, disturbing satire on Soviet communism. It follows the animals who set to rebel against their owners on a farm. The leads, 2 pigs, take their place as leaders of the revolution. Before long, the pigs' rule becomes just as tyrannical and dangerous as the farmers' rule had been. Some pigs are equal, some are just more than equal. Number 3, Down and Out in Paris and London. This book was written in the late 20s, and it chronicles a time of Orwell's living in London and Paris, visiting the darkest and poorest areas of the cities, getting arrested. He talks about social injustice and the cruel nature of society that did not see or ignored the problems of those. And the final book is a war book, the Homage to Catalonia. It's an autographical book. It describes Orwell's time in Spain, fighting against Franco and in the Spanish Civil War. He traveled to Spain originally to report on the conflict, but ended up joining in and eventually being charged with treason. The novel shows Orwell fighting, risking his life in order to fight for ordeals that become the forefront of his greatest work, 1984. It's always good to revisit George Orwell when we talk about dictators and strongmen. It really shows how prescient Orwell was, and unfortunately how many attributes of the old Soviet system have been brought forward by Putin today. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Ukraine after this short war will hopefully end. But in the meantime, I would urge you to go back and revisit George Orwell. I would start with 1984. Of course, Animal Farm is a great discussion about the tyranny of a dictatorial rule. George Orwell, having celebrated his centenary, is back in the fore with the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. Check out any or all of these books. We have a couple of new podcasts out on the Compliance Podcast Network I'd like to tell you about. The first is Hidden Traffic, where host Gwen Hassan looks at modern slavery and human trafficking. Gwen is well known in the compliance community for her passion around this topic, and she brings that passion to this new podcast. Also, I have a podcast on presidential leadership lessons for the business executives. What can business executives learn from the now 46 presidents, and how can you incorporate those into your business and leadership strategies going forward? This is appropriate for the CEO, the CCO, the CFO, or anyone else who's in a leadership position. Finally, I'm extraordinarily pleased to announce a 5-part podcast series on the science of Star Wars, where with Dr. Ben Lachlan, a academically trained astrophysicist, we look at some of the scientific issues raised, such as dueling lightsabers, the Death Star, and jumping to hyperspace. I know you'll enjoy it.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.